Hey, what's going on guys? Hope everyone will be fine and welcome back to another course. So in this video I'm going to explain you how we can delete multiple data using checkboxes. So as I explained in my very first video where we can insert multiple data using checkboxes. So I plan to make something where we can delete multiple data using checkboxes. So this is all done through AJAX and jQuery without page refreshing. So let's jump in, right? So here I have a multiple users. So I have a name and the email, and we have the IDs, and we have some checkboxes. And a good option that I provide here is if I just click all of them, so all the checkboxes are checked and I can easily delete them, which I'm going to show you later on, right? If I uncheck them and if I just only click 2 or even I click 4, and definitely if I click the 5th one, so the all should be checked by default because that shows that all checkboxes should be selected. Now we can delete that all. So I provided that option too, or you can only delete the selected checkboxes. Let's suppose if I want to delete this only, sarah@gmail.com. If I just click on the delete all, it will ask you, are you sure you want to delete the selected users? I click OK, and you see the user deleted successfully. But if I have nothing is checked, now if I just try to click on it, you can see, so please select at least one record to delete. So we also have an alert here, right? So we can also delete all the checkboxes that I've shown you. So if I just check them all, and if I just try to click on the delete all, it will ask you, are you sure you want to delete the selected user? I said yes, okay, and the user deleted successfully without page refreshing. All right, so this is something which is very good, and I believe you will, I have explained this thing with step-by-step procedure. You will learn and you can use even in your project after learning from there each and every single check that I explained. So I hope you guys really love it. So let's jump in and start the coding section. Alright guys, so welcome back here in the coding section. So here we will start most of the things from the scratch, and a very few things that I wanted to explain you first. So first, you keep sure that I already created here a database on my .env. If you go and see my previous video where I've shown you how to insert the data using checkboxes, so I've done the very same thing. So checkbox_tutorial, the name of my database. Make sure that you have your XAMPP server on, and I have my users tables. You need to migrate it. So how you gonna migrate that? All the columns are the same, which is by default created. If you go inside your database migrations, and let's say I just want to extend that, and there you go. If you go to your users table, that's where you see you have your ID, name, email, and password. So everything is remain the same, so you don't need to change that. And a very basic installation for the Laravel complete project, it's almost the same. Nothing has been changed, despite I just want to explain to you that .env, how you just need to add that and then create here the database by simply clicking on the new and type the database name, which is checkbox_tutorial. And once you're done with that, then the last thing you need to do, which I have done already, so just want to show you. So you need to just simply do php artisan migrate. All right, so that's the one step that you need to follow, right? So you can just simply migrate that by simply pressing enter, and nothing I have changed. The columns are almost the same, right? So I just close that up, and now in order to run the server, I have to just simply type php artisan serve. And if you see my previous project where I have shown you that how to insert the data using checkboxes. So if I go to my routes and web.php, so I already added up there. Right now we have to create a separate page for it. So let's gonna create here the route, and this time I want to create here the get request, and inside here let's give it the name of users, right? I just give it the route name to be users, and we have to create here a controller, which I haven't created yet. So let's first create a controller by just simply opening up your terminal, or you can just simply click on the view and click on the terminal. All right, so just click on the plus to create another new terminal. So let's here, I'm going to create a php artisan make controller, and the name of the controller in my case is user controller. All right, so I just simply create the controller, and I don't need to create a model. So again, the user.php already exists. So if I want to show you, so if you go to the app and user.php, all right, so this model is by default created. Okay, so we have created the controller. So let's pass here the controller name. So user controller @ and the name of the method which I want index. All right, so let's first go inside the users controller, which should be inside app http controllers, and let's move into the user controller. So let's first create here a function. So public function index, and I want to return my view. So return view, and let's give it the name of the page, which is users. So let's first create the name of the file inside the resources to get the view. So all you need to do is to go to your root directory and just select the resources, and inside views folder we have to create here a file with the name of users.blade.php. all right, I hope it makes sense, right? So what I'm going to do here, I already inserted some dummy data which only includes the name and the email, and I want to populate that data on my users blade, right? So that's how I can return all the data, fetch the data from database and display on the page. So what I'm going to do here is just simply create here the meta structure. That's what we have done so many times, that VS Code provides you that shortcut. So here I'm going to insert delete data using checkboxes. All right, so delete data using checkboxes. We are using AJAX and jQuery. So let's write AJAX and jQuery, right? All right. So we have our title in, and now I need to have to apply some changes, which like meta tag, as I explained in my last video, which is used for form submission, and especially in Laravel provides Csrf Token, which is a cross-site production forgery, and we have to add here Csrf-token, and I have to add here a content that should be equivalent to Csrf token, right? So in the later on we have to pass the data from we have to pass the data for AJAX using the content, or we can pass the data for the headers. So that's where we required, so we have to pass this. So Csrf_token, and let's pass here the method name, right? So now it's completed. So I just want to do some styling as well, so just want to simply give here style. So just keep that empty for now, and let's first create a very basic table, right? So here I'm going to create here notifications if, so notif, and let's whatever the name you would like to give, but I'm happy with this notification div, right? And next we have to create here the header. So let's give it the header, so each one, and now just tab this out, and now inside here I'm going to put the so just give it the users listing, because I want to display here user listings. So we define here the users listings, and now next after that I need to bring here the header. So for that I need to go inside here, and let's put up the table, and inside table I need to define here the table head. Inside table head we have the table records, and let's define, so th, I believe we need 4 th, so just simply type th cross 4. So the first one I need here is the checkbox, or input type of checkbox, right? And luckily I get the same right spelling, checkbox, right? So here I need the ID, and next I need the name, and the last thing that I need is the email, right? So I just want to display this basic information. So down underneath that we have a table body, and inside here I just need to wrap that all inside my tr, which is fine, right? Okay, so next we have our table body, and inside table body I need to give here 4 times table data. So yeah, I need to bring this in first inside the tr, and let's define now td cross 4. all right, so the first thing which I need here is the checkbox. Again, we need to, so you just keep to remember that this checkbox is for selecting all the checkboxes, and this is for the individual, right? So for instance, if I want 2 checkboxes to be deleted, so for that I'm creating a separate checkbox. So input type of checkbox, and just simply press enter, that's fine. So the next thing is for the numbers, just give it 1, and let's, for the name should be John, and for the email for now I just give it the john@gmail.com. all right, so if I just go back, I already run my server, I believe. If I go to my first PHP, yeah, PHP artisan serve, and if I just go back, yeah, already it's running, right? So if I go back and refresh, so it looks something like that. Now we need to change that styling a little bit, make that a bit attractive. So just want to open up my style. So let's do some styling here. So just want to, first thing I want to do here is to give my box sizing. So box dash sizing, and give it the border dash box. all right, so the next thing I need here is the body. So let's define here the body, and give it the background color of so background of hash, give it the 0A1025, All right, saves it. Next we have our header, so let's give it the header of h1 and give it the color for white, and let's give it the text aligned to the center. And next we have our padding, so just give it the padding of 24 pixel top right and tab left bottom. So the background color that I need here is, so the background color should be hash 334 and 4368, right? Saves it. So you can change the color according to your own choice, but I just want to make things a little bit attractive, so that's why I'm just giving the right color. So margin, give it the 20 pixel auto to make that table into the center. And now I need to give some border out of the table, so border 2 pixels solid. I just need to give it here hash 344A94. all right, so after the table, now I just need to give some few more properties. So let's define the padding of 10 pixel. All right, and next we need to here give the color, so give it the color of E3, E3, right? Something like gray color. And the width of the table should be 60%, right? So width is 60%. All right, so we're done with the table. So let's define the table heading, and the table data. So table and TDs, and let's define here the padding. Once again, I need some padding inside here for the heading and the table data. So let's give it the data spaces between the top, right, left, bottom. Text aligned to the left. I want the labels to have the text to the left. Everything which includes in the headings, everything which includes in the table data, right? And the background dash color, I want that to be, let's define the background color of 368, I believe, right? So next we have our table and the table body and the TR, and for the TRs I need the background color to be, let's define here hash 1C and 223B. all right, saves it, right? I hope it's fine. Now we need have some buttons here as well, so let's define the button. So .bdn, and here I want to give it a padding of 10 pixels and border none. So if you have done that stuff in my previous video, if you watched that insertion where we have insert the data using checkboxes, so you can simply grab the CSS from there if it's taking so much time for you. All right, so the font color should be white, and background color should be hash 2f4. Let's give it the 2f4 AA8, right? So that's fine. Okay, I hope it's fine. And the last, very last thing that I don't need to write is the notification div. That's basically, this is again for a purpose, because later on I'm going to show you that notification div whenever we are deleting the data, inserting the data. So we just pop up some message. So it's very much similar to what you see when if you have ever worked on toasters or like that. So I created a very custom toaster, so that basically this ID is for that, and I already included on my HTML, and it was by default it's still display none, and it only shows when we have to show and fade in, right? So we can help with the help of jQuery, we can fade in the message. I want to show you later on how we are going to do that, right? So if I just saves everything here, and now if I go to my browsers and refresh that, so it looks very fine, right? Everything looks good. So I need to have a button on top as well for when, like if I just checked all of them, and basically if we have multiple data, right now we have only 5 data in our database, but what if we have once we select all the checkboxes, and on top I need a button once we click on it, so all the data is just deleted. So I need to create a button on top of that. So for that I need to go right up on my table, I believe. Yeah, so let's on the top of the table, yeah, where my table tag starts, open right after the header closing tag. So create here a button. Let's give it the class of, let's suppose if I need to give it a class of BTN, because we have defined here class of BTN, right? So if I just try to save it, and let's give it the name of delete all, saves it, refresh that. So this button is at the left. So in order to bring this in, I need to do here is I just need to give it the custom styling. So let's give it the margin to the left and let's give it the 380 pixels. So on my screen, I believe it looks fine, but you can change according to that, right? You can do some styling or stuff. So right, it's fine. Now delete all. So if I just try to inspect that and just open up my console, because now we are next working with the jQuery, so that's where we are needed, right? Okay, so it's cool and fine, right? It means that we have multiple data, and once we click checked all and just click on the delete all without page refreshing, this all gonna all delete that. Now I need to do is to go to my code.jquery.com. Now let's look for the jQuery stuff. So open up the get the uncompressed version, copy that, and just simply paste it down after the table tag. So let's open up the tags here, and right up here you need to define your jQuery tag. Now here you need to define the document ready function. So let's go and so document dot ready function. All right, so here inside the document ready function, I need to have an even. Now what I'm going to do here is, let's suppose if I have one more data, just want to grab that and just want to show you for a reference. So if I go and refresh this, so you can see now we have two data. But what if I want to delete all? Like if I just click on this check all button, basically this is for the check all, and once I click on this checkbox, I want to make this zoom, right? So once I click on this, so all checkboxes should be checked. And if I just toggle, that means if I uncheck that, all the checkboxes should be unchecked. Now how we are going to do this with the help of jQuery, what I'm going to do here is we have to first define here a check underscore all ID, right? So let's first bring this in. So I need to define that ID right inside my check all, which is inside my table heading, right? So let's give it the ID of check underscore all right? So basically we apply here an ID, so you can define here a class or whatever. So I believe that the things which are not keep repeatingly, so I usually use their I prefer to use the IDs, right? So this is for the ID. And now next thing I'm going to do is let's bring this inside the code. So let's write here give it the check underscore all. And now if I have an on click event, so let's give it the on click. So on click and the function, let's pass here the function. So inside that, once I click on the check all, let's give it the alert and check this out, right? So if I'm going to refresh this, and if I click on the check all, you see the alert works, right? So that means that our event is working, which is click, right? So next I'm going to do here is to define if it's checked. Now we need to check if it's checked, then it's give it the prop. Now we are using here a method which is known as prop method, which set or returns the properties and values of the selected elements. So in order to select in the to return the properties and value of the selected element, we have to use prop method. But before I should go directly to it, we need to first check if it's checked or not. So in order to check this, we have to give here if this is checked. I apply the very same thing which I did in the last video. So if it's checked, so let's give here colon checked, and that means that if the checkbox is checked and it has the value of true, so let's give it the true here right after that. And if it's checked, right, and if it's true, and now I need to give my checkbox. So we need to define here a class with a checkbox, which I haven't give yet. So let's first define the class for the checkbox, which I need to define inside my check underscore all. Actually inside my table data, so that I could have my all checkboxes select. So inside my table data, so I need to define here where I should give my check all. Okay, so it should be inside my table headings. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, so I just need to remove that because we have to access dynamically all the data, but for now just bring in the class just for the testing purpose. So I don't need any name here, so just remove that. So let's bring in the class. So give it the name of class to be checkbox, and I don't need any ID, so just want to make things very precise and clear, right? So I think so before I should go directly to it, I need to pass the data from the controller. So let's first do that. So I need to go to my user controller, and let's define here dollar users equal to user colon all. So all method which I've done through the eloquent, and let's pass the data with the help of compact method. So we define here compact, and let's define the users, right? It's fine. And now let's bring up the include the model. So use app slash user. All right, so I bring this inside my view. So let's pass that data inside our, so I need to go inside my table body, which starts from here. So first check if it's like if we have some data which we have to use a count method. So let's bring here users dash count. So I define that, and just underneath the table record we need to end the end if. So next we have to apply for each to loop the data, right? So I just need to cut that and for each and bring this in, and I don't need actually, right? So just give it the name of users and change that to $key, right? All right, so we bring this in, and next I need to do here is just to make this a little better. Just make this. So I need that for each before and if. Right now it's fine. Okay, that looks fine to me. Bring some indentation. All right, it's fine actually now. Okay, so we have to loop the data. So let's first give it the dollar. In order to show the ID, we have to define $key dash ID. Let's give it the name. So I need to do the same stuff, like $key and the name. And the last thing that I need is the email. So I just want to copy that, remove this static email, and just bring this in. All right, so that's awesome. So I also need to do some stuff dynamically later on, where I'm going to give the ID to delete, like if we have multiple data, we need to delete the data using some ID. So I'm going to pass here an ID. So just bring this in first. So let's bring the $key dash ID. So in order to grab the ID for each individual row, I need to actually get its ID. Later on I'm going to explain you why I did that, right? So we are good to go. We define the class of checkbox, and I also need to get its ID. In order to get the ID for the input, we also have to define some attribute like data-id and bring this in, very much similar to what we have done. So let's pass it $key-id. All right, that's fine. All right, so I think we're good to go. And now just underneath that, I need to use here a prop methods, and in order to see that if it's checked and if its value is true, that means if it's checked, then we have to get all the checkbox with the help of class. But in the other case, on the other case, if it's not checked, we have to simply give its value false. All right, so basically to make that all checked, we have to see if it has a class of checkbox, then checked all and give its value checked. That means it's true. But even on the other case, if there is no class with the checkbox name, that means it's all unchecked. That's why we give the value of false. False means it's unchecked. Now, in order to test this out, so let's first refresh this, and now we have all the names for the users. That's fine. Now, if I click on the first one, you could see that all are checked. All right. So soon I just uncheck this, all are unchecked. And if I click on it, it's all unchecked, right? So that's awesome. So now we have to apply here another condition. Now the condition is that, let's suppose if all the checkbox are clicked, then clicked all. Means I want to say you, like if you have clicked on 2 or 3 and you clicked 4, but what if you are just trying to click this one, the 5th one? I need that this has to be all checked. That means that if all the length of our rows should be equal to the check boxes that we have, then it's all checked by default. But if we have like something like if we have 3 check boxes, then it should be unchecked, because all are not checked until and unless I don't check all of and then it will be automatically checked. So let's do that now. So if I go to my source code now, and so right and after this condition, I need to now apply check all checked if all checkboxes rows are checked. So in order to do that, I just need to get first checkbox. So I'm gonna pick all the checkbox which have the class of, and I have to apply here on click. So once all are clicked, so I'm gonna press the on click function. So once some checkboxes are clicked, and I also am applying a condition that if the checked, so let's define here the dot checkbox, and I want to see if they are all checked and they have the length equal to the checkboxes length. All right, so what actually it means here is if all the checkboxes are checked and it should be equal to that length, I want that to be all should have the value of true. That means that they are all checked. So I'm going to grab from the okay, it's fine, I need to bring this in. So let's go and give it the ID of check underscore all, and let's give it the value of automatically to be true. So remember that this is all coming from the from this, right? That means that it will automatically this should be checked, right? So let's go and down and see. So I want that ID of check underscore all to be checked, right? So let's give it the value of true, and on the other case, let's bring here the else, and let's define the value of checked. On the other case, it should be false, means that it should be false only if the length of all the checkboxes are not equivalent to the checkboxes we have, right? So let's have a look and see. Now if I just try to refresh this, and if I just try to click on this, that's fine, and soon I click on this, you could see until this all checkboxes lengths are equal to that checkbox, the number of rows we have, so it's automatically we are getting the checked value, right? So I hope it makes sense to all. So this is a very good functionality. All right, so now let's look for and delete, and look for the deleting option. So I'm going to go down to that, and I want to have a button here on top which I need to give a class of delete-all in order to delete all the data. Once all checkboxes are checked, then I need to click on this button, and that's how we can delete all the data. So I want to give a class of delete-all, and that's how we are going to delete the data, right? So let's go down here and define here the class of delete-all, and I need to give here on click here. So let's define here on click. So I give it on click, and let's define here the function. So I define here a function with the even, and I need to, for that I don't need that, but it's fine. And let's define here an IDs and of the array. What actually it means here, as soon as I checked all the checkboxes, so we need the IDs of all the checkboxes, and that's why I define I just get the IDs, right? That's how you could see, we get the IDs through the table row, we get the IDs of each individual checkboxes, and now I want these all IDs which I have checked. I need to push that into the array. So for that, I just create an empty array, and here next to it, I'm going to define here the dot checkbox, which is the class. So if the checkbox is checked, right, and I need to have a function which is dot each function, which will loop through the data until we have all checkboxes are done. So this is going to check, and I need to bring this inside the array. So I'm going to use a push function and get its ID. So how am I going to get the ID? So $this.ATTR. So that's going to get the value through the attribute, and which is the data-id. And remember that that's how we can do. So this data-id is coming from the which we pass through it, right? So it will check all the checkboxes, classes, and it will push the IDs of each individual row and push that into the array, right? That's how we can get the value. I hope it makes sense. Now, next we have to do is, right after that, I need to check a condition here. So if there is definitely, if I want to delete the data, I need at least each checkbox, it should be checked. Now I want to apply here a condition. So if the IDs of array and its length, if its length is less than 0, right, that means we have to add some data. So I want to give it here a alert, and let's give it the alert of are you sure. Sorry, I want to give here the please select at least one record to delete. All right, so we give it the alert here, and on the other case, if it's if we have some data inside the array, so we have to confirm that are you sure you want to delete. So for that, we need to bring something which is known as confirm, and let's give it are you sure you want to delete the selected users. All right, so we are good to go. Let's bring here the brackets in for the confirmation. So that's where we're gonna write the code. So now we need once we are getting and pushing the values inside the array, and we have to confirm that. So let's define here the another variable, and let's give it the string IDs. Now a reason why I just create that variable, I need all the IDs which are let's define inside the array, right? So all the values which are pushed, I need to join them. So I'm going to use here a method which is known as join. So I'm going to bring here join method, and that's where I'm going to put here comma, right? So that's how we can add all. So let's going to show you how it's going to show you output. So let's console the log and give it here string IDs. So I just define that same. All right, okay, it's fine. Now if I just go back and refresh this, I need to open up my console, which is already open. So let's check that out, and if I click on the delete all, it's gonna show you the prompt message that are you sure. If I click OK, and there you go. So 1, 2, and 3. So we can join the array, right? And we put some comma right after it. All right, so next to it we have to define here the AJAX method. So let's define here AJAX here, and inside AJAX we have a rule which is very simple. Let's define the URL first. Again, I need to pass the route through the route name, so I'm going to create here route name here. So let's give it the route name of users dot multiple dash delete. All right, so I just give it the multiple dash delete, and the type of the request should be delete, right? And we need to pass some headers. So just like you can pass the header just like I did in the last video, or you can do one more stuff like that. So let's define here the Csrf token. So x dash Csrf dash token, and right after here I'm gonna pick here that this is the token, and now let's pass the name for it. So let's pass a $, and inside here I have to define meta. So it should be meta. It should be in the small letter actually. So meta name equal to Csrf dash token, and get its attribute value from the content, which I want to go dot ATTR, and that's how you can get the content, right? So basically this pertains to that, right? If I can show you, so there you go. So Csrf dash token, and that's what I did here, right? So we get the token, we pass the headers inside the AJAX, right? All right, so next after that I'm going to pass here the data. So the data that we have arrays. So let's define here, let's give it the name of IDs, and inside we have to see how much IDs that we are getting. So let's pass here str IDs, which is the join array, right? That's what we have seen on the console. So that's all the array. I need to pass it to the controller. And next after that we have a success function. So let's define a success function, and here we have to place all the data. All right, so now next thing I'm going to do is to just create that route first. So let's go inside my web.php, which is already open. It should be inside your root directory. So remember root and web.php. All right, so let's type here route colon we need to delete all multiple data. So let's define here the delete here. and here let's delete dash multiple dash users. And now next after here we have to define here the name of the controller, which is users controller. Define it right inside here. And now here I have to create a function with the name delete multiple users. All right, it should be delete multiple users. Now I need to pass here the name route, so dash name, and whatever I pass up here I need to copy that, and let's put it here inside the name route. All right, so that's fine. Now inside user controller, let's go and create a function. So I'm gonna go and create here a function with the name of users delete multiple users. So public function delete multiple users. Let's first pass the request here. So request $request. So before I should go directly to it, so first check the ID. So I'm gonna define here the IDs. So $request dash IDs, and see if we are getting the ID and our route is passing to the controller, right? So I saves it, and let's, if I just refresh that, and if I go right here, oops, actually I just need to first check only 3. If I click on the delete all, it's gonna ask me this fine. Now if I go to the networks, and there we go, if you would see that the request is 200 and we have the request for 1, 2 and 3. Now we need to remove these commas, because actually when we are passing the data into the controller, we have to use a method which is known as explode, because we need to get the values in form of the array. So here you could see we have string of array, but we need to convert that into the array. So we have to use a function in PHP which is explode function. So let's gonna do that. So right after it, let's define a user model, and wherein we have to use, so basically wherein clause in Laravel will check the array. So wherein, when we have multiple IDs, so that's where we normally use wherein. So wherein the IDs, and we have to compare all those IDs, and we have to use explode function, which I already showed. We have to convert that in the string into the array and remove that comma. So let's bring here comma, and if I just try to bring here $IDs, that's fine. And you can also do here is simply delete that right here, or you can create a separate variable after that and delete it, but it's fine. Okay, so and then I need to pass a response, so return response in JSON. So I pass here the response, and I want to give it the status of true only if it's successfully deleted. So I give it the success value true, and the message that I want to pass is user deleted successfully. All right, so it's fine. So what actually is showing me here is I forget to bring here the square brackets. So right after here, all right, saves it, it's fine. Okay, so we have deleted. Now let's, if I go back to the deletion inside my users.blade.php, where we have the success function. So this is gonna only pop up the message if the data is successful. So let's give here a condition if that data has the status, right? So this status is actually coming from this status, right, into the response. So if the data status is equal to true, which is the value, so it will match. If it's true, if the response is fine, then I need to give my checkbox value to be removed. Now what I'm going to do here is to get all the checkboxes. So let's define here the class. So I'm going to use here .checkbox, which all the values which are checked, right? I need to I need to see if they are checked. So I'm going to give it the checked, and each function, it will run only until if all the values should be deleted. So I pass here the loop. So what actually does here is all the checkbox values which are checked, it will loop through it, all the checked value loop, and I need to remove that. In order to remove this, I need to use here a DOM traversing here. So traversing means that if I want to delete the parent, let's suppose if I define a method with the name of parents, which will check and delete the tr. So each tr have its parent. So what actually it means, if I remove the tr, let's inspect this. And what if I just want to delete this entire this ID 3, let's if I go to the tr ID 3, if I need to remove that and delete the element, you see now it deleted. So for that I need to get the parent. So the parent for the table data is tr, so I need to remove that. So let's gonna go inside here and loop. We already looped the data and we get the tr, and I need to remove that. So remove method. I hope it makes sense to all, right? So just after that, once it loops all the data, I need to show the notification here. So dollar, I'm gonna pass here the notif div. So let's pass a notif div. Let's pass here to show the message fade in. I'm gonna fade in. I use the fade in method. So basically it will check the notification div that we created on top. We passed here inside the body, and this is gonna show us only if it's successful response and it fade in. Next we have to define here. So I'm gonna copy that notification div, and I'm gonna use the CSS, and let's define the background of green. So I'm using a complete jQuery way, right? So background green, and let's define the text here. So let's give it the grab the ID, and let's pass here the text by .txt, and says user deleted successfully. Make that users, right? So users deleted successfully. And next I need to have a set timeout function where I need to define my callback function, and I need to fade out the message right after 3 seconds. So let's define here 3 seconds. So that should be the time. Let's copy that fade in, and now if after 3 seconds I want my message to be fade out. Alright, so that's fine. Okay, so if that, it's only in that case if it's all successful, right? And if on the other case, if it's not successful, I want the alert and set that to be something. Or you could simply do the same thing like I just did here, is simply copy that all and simply change that color to be red, and say something, and show the text something went wrong. As simple as that, right? So this is going to be the else statement, and that's fine. And right after the success function response, we have to pass here something which is the error function response. So let's define here error function if there's a function error, right? So let's define here the alert as well. So alert, and give pass here the data dot response text. Alright, so that's fine. Okay, so I believe we are good to go. Let's have a look and see. Okay, so one thing I just forget to bring here is if I go to my TRs. Now what actually I'm doing here is, you see that we have to remove the table row. In order to delete the entire table row, we have to define here an ID. So in order to define, we have already defined the ID, but we want the individual TRs to be removed. So I want to bring up something here, like just bring here tr underscore, right? If I just try to save it and I go back to my browser and refresh this, now let's have a look and see if everything is working fine. So if I just try to delete the ID of 5, if I just click on the delete all, right? Okay, so this gonna show the message the user deleted successfully. If all are unchecked and try to click on it, it says a message that are you sure you want to delete the selected users? Okay, yeah, there is an issue actually. So there is an issue actually. Rather, it should ask the message for the confirmation. That's where we have show, yeah, if the IDs dot array dot length, if it's less than 0, so it's still showing us the message, which is not fine. It still shows the message because the array is empty. So in order to check that, I need to see it should be less than equal to 0, not less than 0. It should be less than equal to 0. Right? That means that if it's empty, means it's 0. It's not less than 0 means that if it's -1, -2, but we need the things to be 0. Like So it should be equal to 0. Now if I try to refresh that, and now if I try to click delete all, it says please select at least one record to delete. So this is working fine. Now if I just try to delete one more data, let's click on it and delete it. So if I just want to delete all the data using all the checkboxes, so if I click on it and press OK, you see now all the data is deleted successfully. Refresh that and it's all empty, right? So you could see how great it is to work with the checkboxes. This is very important. As I explained, I already have a video where how you can insert the data using checkboxes, so you can delete multiple data using checkboxes, right? So I hope you guys really love this video. So I want to plan that I want to make some calculation, like planning to make a video where we can add we have a list of products. We can add on real time, we can add the product quantity and something like that. So that's what I plan for next. So I hope you guys really love it. So please don't forget to like and subscribe, and I want to see you for the next time.